Quoz Arts Fest. It happens annually and it's taking place this weekend, January 25th to 26th. Alserkal Avenue is a kind of space of warehouses in Dubai in the Quoz area, an industrial area, but as often happens in industrial areas and cities around the world, like these really big, spacious warehouses, it's kind of become the very arty hub in Dubai. They have a lot of galleries, they've a lot of workshops and art spaces.
What's cool about it is not only is it art and music and food, I feel like it's a place where a lot of young emerging artists, artists, kind of come on the scene.
It's a really fun place to go. So if you haven't been, do check it out. And this will also be the same weekend as the Reel Palestine Film Festival. There's going to be 8 feature films and 13 short films, including Q&A sessions and workshops. Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the Quoz Festival.
Dave Chappelle's impactful words on SNL.
And the first Sotheby's auction in Saudi Arabia.
This is Culture Bites coming to you from the National News. I'm Enas Refaei.
I'm Farah Andrews.
And I'm Jalal. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
I love how cozy it is in here.
Super cozy.
It's so nice. It's
Beautiful
so nice.
atmospheric lighting.
It is really good.
Shall we speak honestly? Some of the art just fell on Matt's head.
I barely made it here, guys. I survived.
The man bun did save you.
Yeah,
It did.
That's
You got
what
a
I
little
said.
buffer.
My man bun saved me. Yeah. But we're all good.
What a delight.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's what did you guys get up to this weekend? Because I want to talk about what I did.
Okay.
Why don't
So
go
you don't
first?
really want to hear what we
you
did?
don't care.
No, it was just a nice way of sounding nice. I went to the Louvre. And saw Sultan al-Qasimi give a speech, a talk all about Arab art and modern Arab art and how Arab art has changed, progressed, and the categorization and the archiving. And it was just really insightful and delightful speech.
He's a great public speaker and he's so knowledgeable.
Yeah, he's also a big fan of the Nationals, so it was nice to...
He's a frequent collaborator.
A frequent collaborator. So if you don't know him, perhaps check him out, Dr. Sultan al-Qasimi, and he speaks a lot about different art. But also, I asked him a question about UAE art, and he was very enthusiastic about what's going on in our region and how he believes, this is his words, not mine, for once, that we are on the cusp of a renaissance.
Oh.
In the UAE or in the region across?
In the UAE, in the region, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But I feel that. Do you feel that?
Yeah, same. I mean, one of our stories talks directly about that in a way. So,
And in many ways, so does the Quoz Arts Festival.
Yes, it
Aha.
does. 100%.
Are you going? I'm going.
I'm away this weekend. I'm going away for a little weekend mini break.
But it is a big one. You've been before. Man, wait a second.
Yes.
We're going to turn to you because you helped set this up.
Yes, one of my first jobs when I first moved back to Dubai was
His founding father.
Yes, was with Alserkal Avenue. I was like one of their, I guess, content comms people. It was just me and 2 other people, and it was literally like 2 lanes. And they, at the time, this was like 12, 13 years ago, they were organizing the first Quoz Fest. So I helped write up all the kind of like PR stuff around it. And it was very cool. I mean, back then it was a very small, like intimate, like I said, it was just 2 lanes, I think, back then.
Let's take a little step back because for anyone who doesn't know Alserkal Avenue and hasn't been to the, it's just Quoz Arts Fest. Yeah. So it happens annually. You said it was 12 or 13. I think your numbers are correct because this is the 12th annual and it's taking place this weekend, January 25th to 26th. And it is kind of, I mean, Alserkal Avenue is a kind of space of warehouses in Dubai in the Quoz area, which is an industrial area, but as often happens in industrial areas and cities around the world, like these really big, spacious warehouses, it's kind of become the very arty hub in Dubai. So Alserkal Avenue is a bit of a misnomer because it's a collection of avenues that all kind of connect, and they have a lot of galleries, they've a lot of workshops and art spaces. But it's not just, there's also restaurants, there's shops, there's kind of collective workspaces, there's gyms, bookshop, record shop. So it's
cinema.
And a cinema.
A cinema,
Cinema, yeah.
So it's just a very creative, busy hive of a place.
It's a really fun place to go. So if you haven't been, do check it out. And this will also be the same weekend as the Reel Palestine Film Festival, which I went to last year and thought it was brilliant. I watched a documentary about Magritte. I think I spoke about it on Culture Bites. So I'm definitely hoping to check out some more Palestinian film editions that are going to be showcased in Cinema Akil. There's going to be 8 feature films and 13 short films, including Q&A sessions and workshops.
At Reel Palestine.
At Reel Palestine. Reel spelt R-E-E-L.
A little pun there.
Do you see?
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny.
It's very clever.
That isn't just running this weekend either, which is great. It's not just a 2-day. It's running until the 2nd of February.
But it's opening this weekend with the Quoz Fest. So the Quoz Fest also, what's cool about it is not only is it art and music and food, but also I feel like it's a place where a lot of young emerging artists, artists, kind of come on the scene. Like Saint Levant, who's a big deal now. One of his first performances was like 3 years ago or 4 years ago in Quoz Arts Fest. And not many people knew him then. Like he's much bigger than... Actually, I went to that, which is crazy for me.
Look at
I
this.
just happened to be there and he was performing and I was like, oh, this guy.
Sorry.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Witnessing
a
music.
man.
Yeah, a music man. So it's cool to see like who they bring and what will happen with the artist after they performed in Quoz Arts Fest.
They often do a lot of blends as well. Like this year, they're going to have some stuff about hip hop and Arabic poetry. There's going to be an urban music section. And I'm really excited because I am taking my children, but I really want to take them to the arts and crafts. So there's lots of different arts and crafts that will be happening as well out on the street for people to enjoy and kind of like take part in something led by a community.
It's super interactive. So on like a normal weekend down Alserkal, there's pop-ups of shops and little cafes and places outside. But so for the Arts Fest weekend, it just becomes so alive. And my personal area of expertise be the food. There are quite a few cafes and bakeries that are down there. It's permanent spaces, but there's a place that, I've been getting a lot of emails about recently, and I've been seeing on Instagram an awful lot called Kokoro. Have you heard about this?
I've been, yeah.
You've been?
You've been?
I've been, but I didn't eat. So my friends are eating, but I don't. It's the sushi place, right?
Yes.
It's so...
It's a hand roll bar.
Yes, it's so busy and it has a really cool vibe. Like there's a line outside of people just waiting to be
The hype
seated.
is enormous. Like there is, they sold out like every weekend. It's just like,
What?
yeah.
So I'm going to go there.
It's very cool.
And I mean, your girls love sushi, don't they?
Yes, they do.
So-
My girls love the UAE and sushi and everything that it has to.
Sophisticated ladies.
Sophisticated palates.
And then also there's Oma, which is a homegrown Dubai bakery that serves delicious cookies and cakes. That gets a lot of hype. Once a friend of mine sent me a thank you. It was a little pack of all their cookies, and they're so yummy.
They're very delicious.
very, very, very good.
Love supporting homegrown brands as well.
Oh, so it's a homegrown brand from Dubai.
A Dubai thing.
Yeah.
Fabulous. And there's lots of artists as well that are going to be there.
Yeah, I wanted to also point out, not only there's galleries that are there that have shows that have been running for a while, but there's also going to be special shows and special public art. I want to talk about one that's going to be in Concrete. So Concrete is sort of like the big... it's like not a concert hall, it's a big space that they open up for special art events. And they are having the Forest Dancer and Path to Pure Creation, which is an immersive art installation that's happening in Concrete, where the digital and the physical world merge. So it's a very cool, immersive, interactive experience that's happening there. I think it's just happening on the weekend for Quoz Arts Fest. And aside from that, there's some really great shows. One I would really recommend is called No Shahrazad, which is happening in Lori Shabibi, which is the gallery you first see when you walk in. And it's the Iranian artist Farah Ahranani, and he takes the idea of the 1001 Nights story, but also adds a lot of fashion elements to it, particularly from the 80s, I believe. So it's a really interesting mishmash of different pop culture and literary references in one show. So definitely check that out.
Amazing.
That sounds right up my street.
Shall we chat about some of the films that are going to be shown at Reel Palestine, which is...
At the same time. So there's Passing Dreams by Rashid Mashrawi about the 12-year-old boy and his journey to find a missing bird. This one has been nominated for a few awards as well, so it's definitely been on my hit list. I wonder if I can take children to go and see some of these films. It might be a bit, but we'll see. We'll see.
Israel Palestine on Swedish TV 1958 to 1989. I remember when the team first started talking about this. It's a documentary that kind of delves into archival footage that like kind of chronicles how Palestine and Israel have been, literally documented and spoken about on Swedish TV from, that's exactly what the name implies. And it sounds politely pretty dry. But the team, like, it's fascinating to kind of watch this like evolution of kind of conversation and how it's been depicted and just like this complete breadth of content and archive footage is pretty impactful. So that's also being shown at the festival. So I haven't seen that, but I don't think it's a short film. I think it's like 3 hours.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
One documentary I want to talk about is A State of Passion by Carol Mansour, which is part of the Reel Palestine film. What is it? Film programming. So it's a documentary about Dr Ghassan Abu Sittah, who, if you guys have been following what's been happening, he's been one of the doctors who's been very active on the ground and when he's been out of Palestine as well. What's really interesting about the documentary is that it weaves two things that you wouldn't think would work in together. So it's Dr. Ghassan's experiences on the ground in Gaza, but also parts of his life, his how he met his wife, his children, and how that part of his life has affected or is very much meshed into his work as a doctor on the ground. So it's a story about Palestine, a story about a doctor, it's a story about a doctor in Gaza as well. So it's a personal, intimate story, but it's a story about what's happening also on the ground. So definitely one to watch.
And then when you're on the ground at Alserkal and at Cinema Akil for this weekend for Reel Palestine, there are some shopping opportunities.
Yes.
Yes.
So every year there's a souk as part of Reel Palestine, and they bring together lots and lots of businesses that kind of, from Palestine, whether they're selling crafts, food, clothing, art, books. So you can get your little stash of gifts or
greedy
for yourself.
mitts on some lovely Palestinian goodies.
And you can also just generally going to Quoz Fest, you're supporting a lot of the homegrown food brands or artists or emerging artists. And something I was going to say about when I first helped work on Quoz Fest 12 years ago, it's so cool seeing how much it's grown. I remember like 12 years ago when I jump in a cab and be like, can I go to Alserkal Avenue? They'd be like, what? Where is that? Yeah. But now taxi drivers just know instinctively like where it is if you tell them.
I mean, it's a true destination. It's like, and it is kind of like literally and figuratively like a heart of Dubai. Like it is right in the center.
It's between the old and the new as well. I'm taking some friends from Abu Dhabi.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they've never been.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So it's quite exciting.
It's very near the Golden Diamond Park, which also plays into some other interests.
Greedy mitts on golden diamonds.
Welcome back. So this week, did you guys watch SNL? Obviously not the whole show because we can't watch it all here.
You can't watch it all here, but it was everywhere online.
Yes.
And SNL do put up the whole monologue.
Yes, they do. And it went out on YouTube and I saw that within a few minutes it had racked up thousands of views. I'm sure now it's in the millions.
Yeah, it must be. So this week they had Dave Chappelle on. He was delivering the monologue, he was presenting SNL, and he gave a very, very impassioned monologue. Obviously, he is first and foremost a comedian, so there were a lot of jokes. He made jokes about like Diddy, he made jokes about Donald Trump, he was talking about the LA fires, so there was kind of a lot of current affairs and current news that were kind of tied into the monologue.
Which is kind of his style. I think he's quite good at that kind of commentary on society, which I think all great comedians are. We have this saying in Arabic, I don't know if you have it in Iraq, نص المزح جد.
No, we don't. But
no, which means like half of every joke is the truth.
Yeah.
It's one of my favourite sayings. But I think like for a joke to truly be funny, there has to be an element
and for it to land. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he also, towards the beginning of his monologue, he came on very dry. He was, I'm fed up of being controversial and all these things. Like kind of sat down a bit melancholy. And he said that he was invited on to present SNL very close to the election. He kind of passed up on that. And then they were like, okay, we'll get you on closer to January the 6th. And he was like avoiding it. And then anyway, he ended up presenting the show just before the inauguration. So at the time of recording, we've just had the inauguration. And then this episode of SNL took place at the weekend just before. And the kind of reason I wanted to talk about it today is because SNL has been pretty consistent in bringing Palestinian artists on, touching upon, and Arab comedians have joined the cast and talking, whether in depth or kind of more touching upon, like the war in Gaza has been. They've spoken about it. It hasn't been a completely taboo and ignored topic on SNL. But this week, in his monologue, towards the end of his delivery, he spoke directly about the late President Jimmy Carter.
Wow.
Who recently passed away.
Yeah. And he referenced a trip that Jimmy Carter took to Israel in 2006. And it was related. So he was in Israel, and then Dave Chappelle's story about it, said he was in the Middle East at the same time, and he was here on kind of like, he himself was here on a bit of a journey of self-discovery, and Jimmy Carter was in Israel. And Jimmy Carter released a book called Palestine, Peace Not Apartheid, which was very divisive in Israel. And then when he was in Israel, he said that he wanted to go to Palestine. And so this is part of the story that Dave Chappelle tells in his monologue. And so he was talking about it, and then he becomes like almost like quite affected during it, and he says that he kind of says that it's not his place to comment on whether Carter was a good president or a bad president in terms of like skill, but he's like ethically he was a good man. That was a good person. And speaking about him, seeing him in Palestine, and then he makes the line that I think really landed with me is he kind of then reaches out to Donald Trump. He kind of talks to Donald Trump directly, and says the kind of, you are about to be president again. Please do this with empathy, is basically like his message.
Nice.
He says...
he said that with the joke, though. I know you watched the show.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He said, do not forget your humanity, and please have empathy for displaced people, whether in the Palisades or Palestine. So it's a very strong line. It kind of relates to everything that's happening in LA at the moment. It relates to everything that's happening close to us here in Palestine. And it also talks to like the fact that Trump is a divisive president. I think we can say that. But he is now president of the US, and he represents the whole of the USA now. He is not just a president of the people that voted for him. And so it's kind of don't hold a grudge. Go into this and try and lead with compassion, which I thought was...
and we're recording this off the back of the inauguration that only happened this week. So it's going to be an interesting time that we're going into, but it's really nice of, it's like quite good of SNL to like mark it with such an impassioned speech. I feel like, I think the Dave Chappelle thing really hit a nerve. It has gone viral. So if you haven't seen it, just open the internet. You will see it. But like, what did you think of it, man?
Because it's interesting because with SNL, they could have just mocked the whole thing. They could have mocked Trump being president again. They could have, I feel like, when was Trump president last time? 8 years ago?
Yes.
That would have been maybe the tone. But I feel like now they're like, okay, this is the reality we're in.
Yeah, it would have been like getting like an Alec Baldwin in to do his Trump impression.
Exactly. But this time it was more like, we can be funny, but like there's a lot at stake here, not just in the US, but around the world. And we're all interconnected more than we know. So I like that, balancing that. And I think you have to be a certain kind of comedian, whether you're a fan of Chappelle or not, to be able to do that in a way to, resound to a lot of people, to affect a lot of people.
I think it was quite grown up, actually, of Chappelle and of SNL. Like, I thought it was quite a grown up speech. It didn't feel like it was trying to kind of like point fingers too much at anyone, which, as a turning point, perhaps.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, I said that he kind of opened with I'm kind of done being controversial. He is himself controversial, and there is like comedy often does touch a nerve, and comedy isn't. There's like no joke that everybody finds funny.
Yeah.
My personal kind of comedy, I don't really like it when comedians punch down. And I think he has been that comedian in the past. He has like used his position and kind of made minority groups the butt of his jokes. And that's not, I don't find that particularly funny, but I mean, obviously he's wildly popular and wildly rich, so a lot of people do.
I actually find him really funny. I do find him really funny.
His jokes land. I just don't find that like the kind of
that side of it.
Yeah, punching down is not for me.
I think he's mad funny, but like I don't know what else to say.
Is he the comedian that was here recently?
Yeah, he was here in 2024.
It was like the biggest show biggest comedy show in the country.
Yeah, and the comedy fest will be coming back hopefully, but I don't know if he's coming back.
I was going to say it's interesting because the other day we had the Golden Globes and we had Nikki Glaser, who did a great job as a host. She also...
I found every single one of her lines funny.
Yeah, she was hilarious. And she did that whole balancing thing, right? Where she wasn't punching down and she wasn't like, I'm cool with the celebrities. She was like, everyone was fair game. And I also watched after that...
But it also wasn't like a cringe roasting?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I also watched the Ricky Gervais Golden Globes. And it's interesting to me, again, I mean, he is someone who's, how would you describe his humor? Like very sharp, very, he doesn't punch down, but he's happy to mock and roast celebrities because he's like, you guys are already,
He's pretty happy to make people feel quite uncomfortable with his jokes, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like we've come a long way from there, but till now, but at the same time, I think someone like Ricky Gervais and Dave Chappelle also, and even Nikki Glaser, am I saying his name right? Nikki Glaser. They're all very good at making you think and making you laugh at the same time, which I think is very
I think that's what
rare.
all comedians should do.
Yeah.
It's like, how are we going to comment on society? And there's Shakespeare that always used to use the...
Madame.
The comic relief is often quite telling. But yeah. Oh.
Hey, let's end that on a Shakespeare quote.
Yeah. A Shakespeare reference. So, moving on back to actually full circle moment. We're speaking about the art world growing in the region. Last week we wrote about Sotheby's first auction and exhibition happening ever in Saudi Arabia, which I think is super exciting. The auction is taking place on February the 8th, but the week previous there is the exhibition of the artworks, and there are some really amazing artworks by internationally famous, well-known artists, as well as very important regional artists. So the exhibition is titled Origins, and it has more than 50 international and regional artists, like I said. It's a free exhibition. It's happening in the city of Diriyah. And there are about over 100 pieces, not just paintings, but there's also jewelry, watches, some sports memorabilia, and also handbags. So some of the really cool international artists, Andy Warhol, a Picasso drawing. There is, I always say his name wrong, Rene Magritte, the Belgian surrealist artist, has a really important work there. Wassily Kandinsky's also his work there, and the one of my favorite Colombian artists, whose name is not
Botero.
Botero, yes, he is on my phone because his painting of the Pope is the meme. Why though?
Oh, you love
yes.
You love that meme.
Yeah. So one of his paintings and a sculpture of his is also going to be in the show.
I remember when there was a Botero exhibition here. You're like,
yes.
He's that meme?
Yeah.
So I was reading an article actually. This is a bit of a sidestep about Andy Warhol, a famous collector. Like his house burnt down in the Californian fires.
Oh.
So there's like lots of art that's actually has disappeared because of the LA fires. And I was just thinking about that, like actually about how temporary sometimes these things can be. So when you get the chance to see them,
definitely go. Yeah, you should definitely go. And if you can buy them, definitely buy.
Lucky you.
And put them in somewhere that's very, very safe.
Put it in a fireproof room. I feel like we talk about the Sotheby's and the Christie's auctions an awful lot because they're frequent, especially auctions that relate to Islamic works from the Arab world, and they're coming up like they were like kind of annual, and they've like upped their frequency. And it's a way that I think this time quite a few years ago, I would never have really considered as a way to go and view and see art. I always would have kind of thought, okay, I'm going to go to a gallery. I'm going to go to a museum.
Yes,
I never thought, okay, I'm going to go to an auction house and see these pieces. But it is a way that we often see such important pieces that when they come here and they're here to the UAE, it could be very temporary. It can be quite a short spell that we see these important works. But there was a Da Vinci recently, and then there's been Picasso's that you've written about, and we've obviously spoken a lot about the Buck.
The Buck, of course, our favorite.
But then it's an interesting way that there's going to be a traveling exhibition with regional names and then bringing in international. So there's going to be Warhols and Picassos on show in Saudi for in the run up to the auction in early February.
What's also quite interesting about this and this idea of going to auction houses that you just said, that it just made me like ding, which is like, there's weird things on show, right? Like when you go to a gallery, you're not seeing jewelry, watches and handbags and sports memorabilia. Like this is like kind of a bit of a unique way to go and see interesting items.
Yeah, and just like humans from like the 20th century.
and their things. What's really cool, just on the back of what you said there, is the first Sotheby's auction in the UAE was in 1985.
Ooh.
So and it was Islamic artifacts, I believe. And so if you think about from 1985 till now, just in the UAE, how much the art world has grown, how much the culture of auction houses here has changed. So I'm excited to see what that's going to do in Saudi if this is their first auction ever. And I'm excited to see how this is going to shine the light on a lot of important regional artists. One painting I really want to talk about is Reel Palestine. He's a Syrian artist. His painting, Then What? ? And it's expected to reach the highest amount of artwork from the Arab works, between $500,000 to $700,000. And if you go on our website and go onto our story about this, you'll see the painting itself. It's a stunning painting. Now, Reel Palestine used to really focus on painting about the marginalized people in society. And you can see that in his painting. This painting in particular, it's, I think, 6 figures all dressed in black.
It's quite haunting.
Very haunting, perfect word. And all the figures are sort of looking away in different parts of the painting, except for a young boy who's holding a dove, looking straight at the viewer. And the background is this mustard yellow, and it's a really wonderful contrast against the black. So if you are in Saudi, please make sure you see that painting, because you never know when it's going to be out in the public again.
Well, it might go into private collection.
It might go into, exactly. So
I think I'm stealing this from you, but when you're looking at the painting, you notice the boy very late.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like studying, there's like the figures of the women and they're all looking in different directions. And it's like, it takes you a little while to kind of notice. It's not an optical illusion, but it is kind of almost like, oh, and then you're, there he is. Creepy little boy staring at me.
Interesting.
Holding a dead dove.
Oh,
yeah.
Haunting.
Very haunting.
But the paintings are like, it's a big money auction. The works are some of the works are expected to fetch between $1 million and $1.5 million.
Wow.
Dollars.
Wow.
Dollars.
And this is all coming to Saudi Arabia. So as I said earlier, cusp, renaissance.
Yeah, exactly.
On the subjects of cultural renaissances, should we talk about our recommendations of the week?
Yes.
I'm willing to take the lead on this because I will talk about cultural renaissance.
Yes, go. What is your recommendation, Farah? Tell us, please.
It is the new documentary about the Jerry Springer show. It's a 2-parter on Netflix. It's called Jerry Springer, Fights, Camera, Action.
Great title.
Great title.
I've actually seen it. It's great.
Oh, you've seen it.
It's a great recommendation.
It is. Obviously, I'm not recommend. I think it's kind of looking at it from like a very sociological point of view, whether or not it was exploitative, the kind of responsibility in TV making, the kind of aftercare, where the grey lines, the blurred lines are.
Does it talk much about him or just the show?
Yeah, it could be about him, but it's mostly the show.
Because he was like a very intelligent person outside of the show as well.
He had political aspirations.
Yeah, this is what I hear.
Emmy Award winner.
I didn't know that he had political aspirations.
Yeah, and he was, very, very serious journalist who went into journalism to talk about politics. And then he got given this show that was actually tanking at the beginning. Anyway, I won't ruin it. But please do watch it if you haven't seen it.
And how tabloid journalists can change narrative for better or worse.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't tabloid journalists.
No, I know. And that was definitely the right sound for it.
Can I talk about my recommendation
Yes.
next? Another very important cultural figure that I think everybody should watch is Paddington in Peru. The film I watched over the weekend with my godchildren. It is a lovely, beautiful, everything that the title suggests is in the movie. It's wholesome. Paddington and the family go to Peru so he can discover his roots. And also there's a mystery involved. And it has the wonderful Olivia Colman, who I love. She's so great in it. And I forget the name of the actress, but she plays Ron Weasley's mother in the Harry Potter films. Molly Weasley, her real name, I forget.
Oh my goodness, this is so bad. Because
It's not Emma Thompson.
No, she plays, you know who I mean. She's fabulous.
Absolutely.
She's a treasure.
I know who you're
She's a
talking
British-
about. I know who you're talking about. I can't think of her name.
She's in Billy Elliot.
Yeah.
Yes, she's great. She's in it as well.
We need to do more research.
Yeah. No, it's I was thinking-
Producers
could
can
speak
help
to us
us.
in our ears.
But anyway, it's a great film. Take the whole family. Wonderful humor for adults and for kids. So it's beautiful.
My recommendation for this week has been the viral album, which has gone crazy online. But I've been loving it. And I'm not a huge fan of Latin music, but it's Bad Bunny's new album. I'm not going to butcher this. Our Spanish speaker.
Debe tirar más fotos. Is that the album name or the song name?
It's the album name.
Speak to me like I'm a silly Billy because I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's we should have taken more photos, and it's a very impactful album about Puerto Rican culture and how gentrification has impacted the local indigenous people of Puerto Rico. And he's taken this album as a kind of political step forward.
Oh, I get the name now.
Yeah, and it's honestly, some of the videos are like heartbreaking. And I think a lot of people are using this because it's come out at the same time as we're coming into a ceasefire between Gaza and Israel. So a lot of people in this region are kind of saying, like, we should have taken more photos, referring to Gaza. But actually, with Bad Bunny, he's talking about Puerto Rico and the gentrification which is happening in Puerto Rico, which is meaning a lot of people are feeling very left out of this new Puerto Rican lifestyle. I think a lot of people feel that in different parts of the world. And he kind of follows the story of an old man in one of the videos, which is absolutely beautiful. Please watch it. The album is really Latin, fun mix of like flavors and really, really atmospheric. And he's done this really cool thing, which I think you'll quite like. You know, like the Taylor Swift effect of how she has an effect on the economy.
I'm familiar.
You might be familiar with that. He's taken that and he's like adopted it for Puerto Rico. So he has dedicated the first few of his shows to only indigenous people of Puerto Rico. So only people who are from Puerto Rico can buy tickets to his show. All of his shows for his new album are in Puerto Rico. And then it's for people from outside. So he's trying to like boost the local economy by having all of his shows in Puerto Rico. Which I think was really, really
and
beautiful.
for Puerto Rico, not just like an affordable way to go to a concert for people that come with like international dollars. So I love that.
Exactly. Really, really nice. And I think they get a discounted price. So good for him. But it's a really fun album. I was dancing all weekend to it. My children got quite annoyed.
I'm a listen.
Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening.
And if you like this episode, please like and follow on your choice of podcasting app.
And don't forget to tell your friends and family about us and to check us out online.
We'll be back next Thursday.
Next Thursday. Bye.
Bye.